distance. It's dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona, the big one is out. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another exciting round of the Legacy Sports Car Series here at Sonoma Raceway. As always, on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, my name is James East, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, as our drivers make their way around for the warm-up lap. Starting on pole, Finley Fitzsimmons in the number 1 spot. Tim Jong starting second overall, second in class in the LMP2s. Jack Mundy starting third here today. Zach Rogers starting 4th in the GT1. Gareth Mcallister starting 5th in the GT3. You've got Joseph Penn starting 6th. The lone Daytona prototype driver Andrew Neri also in a GT3 starting 7th. Brad McComb starting 8th in the GT3. And then Connor Brown will round out our 9-car grid here today. Going to be very interesting to see what happens, as we always have lots of excitement at this free-to-join series. It looks like Jack Mundy goes off track early on, and he's going to go back to pit road, maybe start from the pit here today. An odd problem to have out of the number 14 Honda LMP2. So the rest of the field will slide up a spot here, and we get ready to go for our 45-minute feature event here at Sonoma. A lot of these drivers had experience running other cars with other leagues here this week, so getting a little bit familiar with the track and a little bit more used to what they can expect here today. But all of our drivers here always put on a fantastic show week in to week out. So let's see what they're going to do here today. Always an exciting time. Let's see what's going to happen on our warm-up lap. 9 drivers making their way out again. Jack Mundy returned back to pit road. As the pace car comes in, it'll be interesting to see how long these guys go for. And here we go for the 45-minute feature event here at Sonoma. Finley Fitzsimmons quick out front. Joseph Penn and the Daytona prototype up 2 spots into 4th already. And so far, so good. Jack Mundy makes his way out of pit road. Connor Brown gets around Brad McCombs in the GT3 class. Still leading that class is Gareth Mcallister. As you're watching the battle for 7th overall and 3rd in the GT3s, Connor Brown still holding about 3/4 of a tenth ahead of Brad McCombs. And I believe that's going to be Jack Mundy charging through the field as well, trying to get a lap back, as I think McCombs had a bit of a bobble there. But still slots in behind Connor Brown. Joseph Penn, he has a big bobble in his Daytona prototype, able to keep it back out on track. That is going to allow Mcallister, Neri, Brown, and McCombs to all get around the Daytona prototype driver. Penn, one of the race admins here at the Legacy Sports Car Series, always coming out and having a great time amongst friends. And we once again have the battle for 6th overall, 3rd in class. Brad Combs and Connor Brown putting on a show in the GT3s. You've got Brown in the Ford GT3, while McCombs is in the Ferrari here today. And Penn has another bobble in that Daytona prototype, trying to keep it off the wall, get it sorted. Gareth Mcallister, your class leader for the GT3s. He's chased by Andrew Neri in the 654 Barbie-backed BMW. Going to be interesting to see how this battle shakes up. Joseph Penn, though, has another bobble, having a very rough go of it in the Daytona prototype. It'll be interesting to see how much damage and how that affects him on the long run speed. But the name of the game here at the Legacy Sports Car Series is always consistency amongst our drivers. Not necessarily who the fastest driver is week in and week out, but who can bring it home at the end. As we are still watching the battle unfold between, now it's going to be Brown and McComb still. Jack Monday, he's made his way around Zach Rogers, working back up through the field after starting from pit road here today. Now Rogers is leading the GT1 class in that very beautiful Corvette he has out on track. Gotta say, one of my favorite cars to listen to on the iRacing service, just raw power coming out of that Corvette. And a lot of fun listening to him make his way around the track. Oh, but Jack Mundy's going to have problems in the LMP2. Here comes Rogers to capitalize once more, going into the hairpin. Mundy on the inside with a much faster car. We've seen that happen with other events we broadcasted here at Sonoma. It just takes a little bit of a bobble on those high horsepower fast sections to send yourself careening around. And now Tim Jonk is going to have issues as well. The second place LMP2 driver going off track. Not sure if he has any damage on that machine or what the case may be. We're going to try and find a nice tight angle and see what may have happened. But already early on, not even 5 minutes into this main event, and drivers are dropping like flies. Penn, Mundy, Jonk, all involved in crashes here. Andrew Neri, he's got an off track as well, able to get back, pointing in the right direction. But that may allow Connor Brown to make it a 3-car battle for second in the GT3s. It's Neri, Brown, McCombs, all in the mix here. As in weeks prior, this GT3 class has been some of the most exciting action you can hope to find. Fitzsimmons, your race leader, clicks off the fastest lap of the race, a 1:20.19. That is compared to Tim Jonk's second overall in the LMP2s. He clicked off a 1:21.71. As Neri getting a little bit of breathing room as Brad McCombs and Connor Brown start battling for the third place spot in GT3, going side by side. McCombs will take up the position from Connor Brown, the fast Aussie. But let's see, maybe they can work together here, catch up to Neri, and make it a 3-car battle for that second place spot in GT3, which is 6th overall here today. As we go on board with Connor Brown, the Australian, number 45 for GT3. Just ahead of him, you can see McCombs and Neri putting in work here. Grabbing the downshifts and trying to make it happen. Now McCombs may be gaining a little bit of ground here to Neri. Neri's about 3/4 of a second ahead of the number 23 Ferrari. As it sounds like McCombs was abusing the rev limiter there. Not sure if he missed a shift or trying to get the car to rotate more, as it is now within half a second. The Ferrari has legs here at Sonoma. But does Neri have the speed through the corners, as here comes McCombs? Neri just a very slight off track there on the inside line, not enough to slow him down. I don't think he's going to get a slowdown penalty from it, but here comes McCombs. Is he going to make a dive going into the hairpin? He thinks better of it, and he decides to follow Neri through, maybe staying in the draft of that BMW. But man, that Ferrari looks quick here today. Now, I know Neri's been having problems with setup issues for the duration of the season. Maybe starting to get that BMW tweaked to his liking as it runs on. From what he was telling me, not a lot of setup information available out there for the BMW. While the Ferraris that were recently put to legacy status on the official iRacing service have a whole lot of data behind them. And then Neri and McCombs go off track in tandem. Neri gets careened to Brown. Brown checks up heavily. And now McCombs will move up to 6th overall, 2nd in class. Connor Brown now 7th overall, 3rd in class. That is the excitement we have come to expect from the Legacy Sports Car Series. Now let's see if McCombs, with a clean track ahead of him, can start putting down some hot laps. Out front, it's still Finley Fitzsimmons running all the way up front. He's about 16 seconds ahead of Tim Jonk. Jack Mundy, another LMP2 driver, also has an off track. But this is where the consistency really is going to come into play for the British number 6 driver, Finley Fitzsimmons. As Fitzsimmons makes his way around traffic, Joseph Penn and the number 12 Daytona prototype yields the position to the overall race leader. And now Fitzsimmons will be catching up to Andrew Neri in the 654 Barbie BMW. But let's see, Tim Jonk finding some pace here, clicks off the fastest personal best lap of the number 22 Honda LMP2 with a 121.01. Still about a second off the pace of what Fitzsimmons was able to hot lap out here in that number 6 machine. As now Fitzsimmons dicing through traffic, Connor Brown goes wide to yield the position as well. But Brown, if he slows down too much, will quickly have company from Neri in the 654. Now Fitzsimmons has the luxury of being the first driver to cut through traffic here as he comes up on Brad McCombs, the number 23 machine. Only 8 laps in, and we're lapping up through the GT3 class drivers. Now it looks like Jonk is finding some pace, whittling it down to a 14-second gap between himself and the race leader, Finley Fitzsimmons. As right as we say that, Monday has a big problem in his LMP2, running 3rd overall still. Same place, I want to say he had an incident prior in tonight's event, so I'm not sure if maybe he's running not enough aero, not able to keep the downforce on the machine, or what the issue may be for the number 14. And after starting from pits, maybe just getting a little bit flustered here and making mistakes as the race progresses. And another bobble. This time he will kiss the outside wall here at Sonoma. I'm expecting he will probably take a tow back to pit road, as he seems very, very flustered with the front of that car buried into the tire wall. Zach Rogers in the GT1 making his way around, not having too many worries or issues here today. He's got one off track, but keeping it relatively cool, calm, and collected, looking to pick up a win here at the Legacy Sports Car Series. And I can't say it enough, so much fun to listen to that Corvette make its way around. Mundy does take a tow back to pit road. I believe he may be retired for the evening. We will have to see. Rogers' fastest lap of the race was a 1:27.14 as the lone GT1 driver here today, not having too many issues. As now Andrew Neri and Connor Brown are going to battle once more for third in class in the GT3s. Neri's found a fair amount of pace here later on. Not sure if maybe Brown had more off-track moments or what caused him to slow down that number 45 Ford, but that allowed Neri to really capitalize after a couple of big bobbles himself. Brad McCombs goes off-track in the GT3. And it's going to show McCombs involved in a crash. He comes back out on track just ahead of Brown and Neri. And just like that, once more, it's a three-car battle for second place in the GT3s. It's McCombs, Brown, and Neri all in the mix here. This is almost exactly what we saw at Mid-Ohio when the GT3 drivers get together. They put on a show week in and week out. As they head up the hill here at Sonoma, Joseph Penn in the Daytona Prototype number 12 Verizon-backed car. We'll watch this show unfold with bated breath to see who's going to come out on top. Neri right on the back bumper, and no, Penn's going to get too distracted with the show in front of him, and he's going to have an incident. Neri getting around Connor Brown here, and that has allowed McCombs to stretch his gap to about 1.3 seconds as Neri and Brown battle for that third place class position in the GT3 cars. Now this is a one-planned stop event for all of these drivers, as it is always intriguing to see how the pit strategy comes into play for these guys. As you're focused on Connor Brown in the Ford, still right behind Neri. But it has appeared that Brown really has some horsepower in that machine, but Neri may have the maneuverability through the tighter sections of the course. At the top middle of your screen, that is the current leaders per class. Fitzsimmons in the LMP2. Penn in the Daytona Prototype, McAllister in GT3, and Rogers in GT1. As Brown still trying to hold on to Andrew Neri. Neri finds himself 0.6 ahead of the number 45, while McCombs is about 3 seconds ahead of Neri. Up front, the GT3, the world-famous Australian Gareth Mcallister, the number 25 machine, has been one of, if not the dominant driver here at the GT3 class at Legacy Sports Car Series. And I believe he may be one of the most winningest drivers of the season overall. McAllister's fastest time here today was a 1:30.77. So having a great run and not far off the pace of the GT1 driver, Zach Rogers. Now Mcallister will find himself about 44 seconds back from third overall, so it's going to be unlikely he picks up the overall podium here today. But that being said, we have seen it time and again where attrition starts to play a factor for these drivers. They maybe get a little bit too comfortable as the run progresses and continue to push throughout the run. And next thing you know, you find yourself sitting in the hauler thinking about where everything went wrong. Oh, a bit of a lockup there from Joseph Penn, Daytona Prototype, as he follows Connor Brown. Brown has found some time here and caught back up to Neri. It seems like once he can get that Ford really moving, it allows him to reel in Neri. But as soon as they get back in the switchbacks, Neri stretches the legs of the BMW. As it looks like Brown just a tiny bit slower through the corners compared to the very small, nimble BMW. Neri holding on to about a 1 second lead. But look at that, Brown really gained some time going into the downhill section. Let's see what happens once they open up these engines. Past the drag strip here at Sonoma. Now with Joseph Penn running 8th overall in the Daytona Prototype with the lone Daytona driver, I don't think he's going to interject himself into this third place battle for GT3, being more happy to watch and wait and maybe pick off drivers as they make mistakes. So keep an eye on Penn to capitalize on others' misfortune. Way ahead on the frame, you saw Brad McCombs making his way down the chute into the hairpin. As Brown finds so much time on the brakes, as he does have the draft of Neri, but Neri able to extend that gap every time they go up the hill into turn 1. Penn watching Brown, maybe giving a little bit of a draft support. Tim Jonk will be the first driver to come down pit road on lap 14. It'll be interesting to see how long he's in pit road for. Don't think he has any damage on that LMP2, but it's always tough to tell. McCombs has an off track that's going to allow Neri and Penn and Brown to catch up slightly here. As we'll keep an eye out on how long Jonk is in his box for, to see if maybe it's going to be a standard fuel stop or maybe a little bit longer. In and out of his box in less than 10 seconds. So I'm going under the assumption he only took fuel here, getting back out there. It'll be interesting to see, not to the halfway mark here today, if he'll have enough fuel to run all the way out to the end. As you're watching Andrew Neri try and fend off Joseph Penn, just out of frame was Jack Mundy coming back to the field, making his way. No, that was not Mundy. Was that Fitzsimmons, I wonder? Yes, that's going to be Fitzsimmons coming up to the field once more. And he's going to have a whole lot of drivers in front of him. He's got Brown, Penn, Neri all battling for position. Brown. Oh no, Brown! Brown goes into the outside wall trying to get out of the way of Fitzsimmons. Brown may have thrown away his race here in the Ford. And still having a bit of problems trying to get things pointed the right direction, getting off track as quickly as he can to allow, I believe that's going to be Zach Rogers, to make his way through. So poor Brown having a very rough go of it. Fitzsimmons has gotten around both Neri and Penn to continue his run for the lead. Penn launches over the curb here. And now Penn will have some pressure from the GT3 driver of Andrew Neri. I wonder for how long, as Neri is in a much slower class car. And as we approach the halfway mark, this is where you're really going to see attrition come into play for these drivers. This is when the mistakes will start happening. Doesn't matter if it's a clean track in front of you or not. Drivers will start getting a little bit comfortable, start making a little bit more mistakes. And then you can rapidly see the running order changing here at Sonoma. Fitzsimmons making his way around. I believe that's going to be Brown in the 45 machine. No, it is going to be McCombs in the 23. Fitzsimmons having a spectacular race here today, not having too many problems or worries. I believe he's only had one off track in the duration of this event, so looking good. Now he's about a minute ahead of Tim Jonk, but Jonk has already taken his pit stop on lap 14. And the total time it took from cone to cone was about 47 seconds for Jonk driving that number 22. So in theory, if Fitzsimmons boxes anytime soon, he should still come out on track about 13 seconds ahead of the second place overall and second place in class LMP2 driver of Tim Jonk. And now Fitzsimmons will dive down pit road. Locking up the brakes somewhat fiercely. Have to keep an eye out, maybe see if Fitzsimmons may have triggered the pit road speeding penalty. As we pan back to Tim Jonk, we're going to see where he comes out on track compared to Fitzsimmons, who's in pit road. Fitzsimmons in his box for a long time, 15 seconds and counting. Did the number 6 driver get a speeding penalty here today at Sonoma? Now, if he did get that stop and hold for a speeding penalty, he'll come out on track about 20 seconds behind Tim Jonk. Fitzsimmons leaves pit road after 30 seconds in his box. And where will Jonk be in relation on the track compared to the Brit driver, your overall race leader? As it looks like it'll be about a 13-second difference between Fitzsimmons and Jonk here late into the second half of today's main event. As it is Fitzsimmons leading the LMP2s, Penn in the Daytona Prototypes, Mcallister in the GT3s, and Rogers leading the GT1. As Jonk had a pretty heavy bobble costing himself a couple of seconds here. Zach Rogers still looking good in the Corvette as he comes down pit road for his one scheduled stop. Now when is Mcallister in the GT3 going to decide to come in as well? So now we're waiting with bated breath to see when that Ferrari, the leader of the GT3s, come in. Zach Rogers in this pit stall, completing his one mandatory stop of today's main event. Now, historically, we've seen the GT3 drivers really stretch out their fuel runs late into the event. But we've also seen races won or lost here on pit road. Mcallister opts to stay out. Well, let's see what his lap time is this time by. His lap prior was a 1:30.91. So let's see if Mcallister is finding speed as the fuel starts to drop. He does, setting his fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.46. So this is the happy median for these drivers. The fuel levels are starting to get lower. The tires are well burned in, so the drivers can really put down some hot laps here. Joseph Penn leading the Daytona Prototype, 6th overall. Comes down pit road as well for his one stop. And let's see what storylines are going to develop. As now Penn makes his way out of his pit stall after 16 seconds, talking to his crews. Rogers was in and out in 34 seconds. Maybe Rogers may have taken tires here without as much competition. The GT1 class opting for a more comfortable ride to get him to the finish. Penn goes off track to avoid some LMP2 drivers, picking a nice safe spot to park here. Fitzsimmons catching up to Neri in the 654, putting him down another lap in the GT3 class. Now Neri's still running third in class 6 overall here, and Neri will use that opportunity to come down pit road, throwing on the pit lights early. Making positively sure he is not going to have any problems on pit road. Speaking of problems, Joseph Penn goes careening around, throwing a pretty mean donut in that Daytona prototype. Not really machines that are made for off-roading, but Penn making it look relatively easy here today. Brad Combs running 5th overall, 2nd in class in the GT3s. Right now, it is only Neri that has pitted so far, as Brown picks up a position, making his way around Neri, who's in pit road. Neri in and out in 12.8 seconds. We'll keep an eye on the GT3 drivers to see how quickly they're able to get through this section of the track and complete their green flag stops. As we had the pit stop strategy up on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, showing how long drivers have went out for. Out of the drivers that have boxed so far, again, most of the GT3 field has not come in yet. You've got Mcallister, McCombs, and Brown have yet to pit. The 3 drivers on track total that have yet to pit here today. As Fitzsimmons will once again cut his way through traffic coming up the hill at Sonoma. Everybody being very respectful, not wanting to tie themselves up in somebody else's misfortune. Fitzsimmons blasting around. His last time by was the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 19.99. So Fitzsimmons getting more comfortable as the run progresses. But he's got to be careful. This is what we've seen time and time again here in the past at the Legacy Sports Car Series. You get out there, you start putting down your personal best lap times, and next thing you know, you push just a little too hard in one section of the track, and you can throw away a win and possibly a championship. As the field is very well stretched out here today, I'm still intrigued to see when Mcallister is going to come down pit road, as he is still staying out. Less than 15 minutes left to go in today's main event. As Mcallister doing well here, he's about to have Fitzsimmons make his way around once more in the LMP2. Fitzsimmons again leading the overall as well as the class of the LMP2 drivers here today. Fitzsimmons makes his way around the GT3 class leader without incident. Now Mcallister's only about a 1 second off of his fastest lap of the race his last time by. His personal best so far here today was a 1 minute 30.46. last time by a 1 minute 31.47. But this has been a game of consistency because as far as pace goes, McCombs has the fastest lap in the GT3s, but he's still about 13.5 seconds behind the GT3 class leader, Mcallister. And now McCombs will be the second GT3 driver to come down pit road. It's going to be interesting to see how his pit stop compares to Neri, who is in his box for 12.9 seconds. As you watch Mcallister make his way around, knowing that the tough part of the race is over, just has one stop left. Connor Brown, number 45, Ford GT3, will be the second GT3 driver down pit road, but McCombs was in his box for about 7 seconds longer than Andrew Neri was, with a total pit time of 19.6 seconds compared to Neri, who had a 12.83. It's going to be very interesting to see, as I believe Neri will be about 10 or 15 seconds behind McCombs after that pit cycle finishes up. When is Mcallister going to come down pit road? It is now. So Mcallister, your race leader, comes down pit road early on the limiter to avoid any penalties. McCombs second in class. He's still about 13 seconds ahead of Andrew Neri after his lap 21 pit stop. Tim Jonk also comes down pit road for his second stop of the night. Now, I think Jonk may have underfueled here early on, or maybe going for an alternative strategy. Not quite sure. Zach Rogers still out there charging hard. He also boxed on lap 17. And Andrew Neri, and the Barbie machine goes flying through the air. Neri with big problems parks it on top of the tire wall and somehow gets it going again. My, oh my, Andrew Neri has absolutely bent it here today. We're going to try and get a replay of that as the BMW machine smokes his way around the circuit to try and get back to pit road. As we pan back to Gareth Mcallister, that is the exact type of incident we are talking about. Drivers can have major problems here late into the race, and it can really shake things up. So Neri, who's still third overall, not sure if he has a fast repair at his disposal, as that may allow Brown to move up into podium contention amongst the GT3 drivers. And yes, Brown will move up to 7th overall, third in class for the GT3s as Neri is in pit road. Let's see if Neri gets back out on track in the Smoke Show BMW, as it will now be called. McCombs running second in class, still about 22 seconds behind friend and competitor Gareth Mcallister. Mcallister having a great row, and Neri will return back out onto the circuit, able to use that fast repair. Fitzsimmons cutting through traffic here. I believe that's going to be Joe Penn. No, that's going to be Zach Rogers right behind the overall race leader. As Mcallister has a bobble as well, the class leader for GT3s. We talk about it week in and week out in the closing 9 minutes here today at Sonoma. And drivers are starting to have some race-ending mistakes. Mcallister still has about a 20-second advantage over Brad McCombs, which is all well and good, but if you have a possible race-ending incident such as we saw with Andrew Neri, that can quickly be the end of your night. Fitzsimmons still out front, cut through traffic. That's Andrew Neri ahead of the overall race leader coming to the chute before the hairpin. This is where we've seen other tragedy strike for LMP2 drivers such as Jack Mundy early on into the event. And who is that also approaching Neri here? That will possibly be McCombs about to put a lap down on the 654 Barbie machine as here comes Zach Rogers in the Corvette blasting up turn 1, putting the American power down here today. McCombs comfortably in second. He's 21 seconds behind Gareth Mcallister in GT3. And he's about 20 seconds ahead of Joseph Penn in the Daytona Prototype, 47 seconds ahead of his next GT3 rival, Connor Brown. Fitzsimmons out front having a fantastic race. He's about a minute ahead of Tim Jonk late into this 45-minute feature event. Less than 7 laps remaining for these drivers. As now Fitzsimmons only has 2 things on his mind: his own driving, hitting his marks, making the fewest amount of mistakes possible, as well as carefully navigating traffic here as well. As I believe that is going to be Brown just ahead of the overall race leader. Brown is running 3rd in class, 7th overall in the GT3s. No, is that going to be McCombs? No, that was Mcallister, the race leader for the GT3s. So Mcallister will go another lap down here. But Mcallister, a very smart driver, not going to risk that Ferrari unless he absolutely has to. So you will see him time and again quickly yielding the line to faster traffic to avoid getting that number 25 anime-backed Ferrari involved in any sort of woes or issues here today. As let's see Joseph Penn, our lone Daytona Prototype driver, getting a little bit more consistent as the run goes on. Very consistently hitting just at that 1 minute and 30-second lap time mark. His fastest lap of the race was a 1:29.99. Running almost identical speeds to the GT3 drivers. As we're going to take a lap on board of Finley Fitzsimmons here and show you what a fast lap of Sonoma looks like for the current overall leader, Finley Fitzsimmons, in the LMP2. And that was a fast lap at Sonoma with Finley Fitzsimmons, your overall race leader in the closing laps here. He may get 2 more laps. It may just be 1, depending on how the timer works out. His average lap time is about 1 minute and 20 seconds. And we've got just right at 2 minutes left in the main event here today. So it'll be interesting to see. This may be his white flag lap. And then he is well on his way to pick up another win. As I believe, no, Fitzsimmons will get maybe even another additional lap here as he's well on his way to another win. But look at this, Brad McCombs has returned back to pit road in the GT3. He's having to take a tow. That will allow Andrew Neri to move up into podium contention in the bright pink BMW, scoring some major points for his team here today in the final moments of this feature event at Sonoma at the Legacy Sports Car Series. As the white flag will fly for Fitzsimmons this time around, as Fitzsimmons has an off-track of his own. Getting around Tim Junk, so Fitzsimmons has lapped the entirety of the field here today late into the race. It could possibly very well be the checker flag flying. As let's see if the checkered flag, yes, it does fly for Finley Fitzsimmons, picking up another win here today. So it will be Fitzsimmons, Penn, McAllister, and Rogers, your respective winners here today as far as the classes go. Overall, fantastic racing from all of our competitors. As we take a look at the overall race results, Finley Fitzsimmons, a.k.a. the Brit, picking up a win here in the number 6 machine. A fantastic run from all of our drivers at the Legacy Sports Car Series. If you're looking for a fun and affordable, free-to-join league to join, check them out. Legacy Sports Car Series, sponsored by Lead for Construction. As always, on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, my name is James East. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Have a great night, everyone.